Welcome to Island Tea with your faves. Keep it locked in with us for your daily dose of hot tea only on WINNMedia 98.9.
Good morning, and welcome to another episode of Island Tea with your faves, Kevon and Azem, featuring Jade and Gwen Johnson.
Morning.
Morning, everybody.
What's happening?
Morning, everybody. Everybody good?
Yeah.
I mean, it is Friday.
Okay. You're excited. What's happening?
Not really. I'm actually just trying to inject some energy into the scenario.
Oh, like Friday means what? Because these Fridays haven't been hitting, they haven't been Fridaying, so.
Well, what is it that you'll actually be looking forward to on a Friday?
It's not, I don't think it's something that I'm looking forward to. I think it's just the feeling. Some days give you different feelings. And yeah, these Fridays.
Oh, you just haven't been getting the feeling?
No, bye. Friday, give up on us.
Okay, fair.
Yeah. Well, it is still Friday.
It is.
I could tell you, for some people who have had to go back out to work this week, they are glad that it is. They are glad that it is.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think that as much as the people who are really waiting to go back out, I think this may have been an extra demanding week for some people.
True.
And they can't wait for the weekend break. Shout out to the bank. The bank tell us one time.
Listen, they haven't gotten a break since this whole first wave lockdown from community spread. They haven't gotten a break.
That's what I'm telling you.
They probably
Well, not even that. I just think we should just say the latter. The former, they haven't gotten a break, because even during the height of the pandemic, they were the last to go home and the first to come back out. So they've been working basically non-stop since the start of this pandemic.
So you got something.
Yeah. Well, at least you have life. We've got life,
we
guys.
go from there.
You guys been following what's happening? We just mentioned pandemic and thing, but in the BVI, now we're supposed to have some conversations later. It's been interesting, eh? And I think that we really need to pay attention.
Well, speaking of conversations we're about to have, our friends in Antigua, they seem to be ready to link up. So let's head over there.
Yeah. Let's cut in.
It's time for your cross-Caribbean link up.
We just wait till the cut in as usual.
Like a Spanish station. Telemundo, él. Escucha bien.
WINNMedia FM.
Morning.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
As good as good can be.
I think I'm good.
There I am. Ha.
Yeah.
Weird to see myself on the screen, but there you go. See, Kevon, I can't compete with you though. The girls are gonna go all, it is.
I'm sorry I do that.
No humility at all. Well, Lord of mercy. Anyway, as I say, in life you either have it or you don't. You have it, my brother. Anyway, so what's going on with the curfew? What's the latest with the curfew? What's the latest with your dashboard? What's going on in St. Kitts and Nevis? We should have Lionel Michael joining us momentarily. I was trying to get him in on the Zoom, but there seems to be a delay. All right, but so we're going to try and call him, and hopefully we're able to connect that way. All right, either way, we'll sort it out. All right, so yeah, how are things in St. Kitts?
Fear.
We can't see shrug shoulders. Remember someone on Zoom shrugging, but the listeners can't. So tell us.
I would say fear. Things have, we had the spike in cases because of the community spread over a month ago, and we see things are calming down a bit. It's not at a place where we'd love it to be, but I think anywhere different from where we were a month ago is a good place to be. So our vaccine update is, though, we have out of our target population, 70.3% of them have received their first dose, and 58.1% of them have received their second dose. So between St. Kitts and Nevis, we have 19,200 fully vaccinated persons, which I think is a good number. So,
but I think the big thing here is this week has been the first week out of the 24-hour lockdown, and so we see people trying to get their lives kind of back on track. Companies cleaning up and had gotten ready for customers early in the week, and now we're at a place where it almost seems like we're kind of operating back like we were prior to the lockdowns. But now we do have a curfew in the evenings from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. So there's still some measures in place as we try to get out of this current wave of community spread. But I think we are on the way out as opposed to where we were last time we spoke.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm happy. I'm obviously very happy to hear that. Hopefully you'll be able to return to a semblance of normalcy. But this is like really and truly a new normal, because we thought that normal was going to be continuous, but it appears as though not so much. Certainly in Barbados, Jamaica still continues to have problems, and certainly the United States, they are seeing a resurgence of COVID. Anyway, we do have Lionel Michael joining us on the line. We weren't able to work out his Zoom connection, but yes, he's joining us on the line. Good morning, Mr. Michael.
I think.
Okay, I think you have the radio on though. So.
I was trying to.
You're trying to follow.
Yeah, fine. I'm fine.
Okay. All right. Jade and the gang. Lionel Michael, of course, he's a former chief inspector here in Antigua. He's a public health specialist. And Mr. Michael, you're still chief environmental health officer in BVI?
Yes, I am.
Oh dear. I'm hearing that you. Okay. All right. We're having some audio quality problems apparently, Mr. Michael. Are you able to try the Zoom?
I'm hearing you loud and clear on the phone.
No, it's not you. Apparently, we're clipping in-sync kits, so they're not able to hear us very clearly. You're able to try the Zoom? You're still linked? I see your name on the Zoom. Let's try the Zoom.
Yeah, let me try the Zoom and see.
All right. We'll try that. I'm not sure why I'm clipping though. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, listeners, both Facebook Live and others, please do apologize for us trying to. All right. But we seem to not have a problem, so I'm not sure if the problem is on another.
It's actually sounding a bit better now, so I don't know if there's been if you guys made an adjustment, but it's sounding better.
Oh, okay. All right, good. All right, so we're moving straight ahead. I've introduced Mr. Lionel Michael. Mr. Michael, I received overnight, let me put my first question to you. I received overnight information that is indicating that there was another COVID death. I'm actually trying to pull it up now.
Well, it's 2. I understand there are 2 more. So the total gone to 8 now.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Right. Development is confirming 2 more COVID-related deaths today. That was yesterday. Right. Bringing total number of deaths to 8.
Yeah.
The deceased was an 83-year-old female and a 36-year-old female, both of whom were patients at the Dr. D. Orlando Smith Hospital at the time of their passing. Minister for Health and Social Development, the Honorable Kevon Malone, expressed condolences to the families on behalf of the government of the Virgin Islands. Expressing condolences to the many bereaved families is getting harder and harder. So it's a bit of a human element there to the minister, of course, because these things are never good to deal with. Mr. Michael, we've been in touch for quite some time. We've been following the developments around the region, certainly within the BVI because of our connection with you. And I know the BVI was very disciplined in how it handled COVID in the earlier days of the pandemic. What happened? It seems as though the wheels have come off the wagon, to use an expression.
Yes. We too in the BVI are very disappointed about what has happened concerning the recent epidemic within the pandemic, because we have a pandemic which is global, and we do have an epidemic of COVID-19 cases in the BVI that started somewhere around the 3rd of July until now, and so the cases has gone to 1,600 plus now active cases, and that is really a lot of cases. Prior to that, I think all this started, I believe, and it bears out the point that when a country decides to open up its borders, open up the country for economic activity, the public health measures that are there has to be still maintained, has to be still practiced, and so people get a little
complacent,
relaxed, laid back. Because we have gone a long time prior to July 3rd without any significant number of outbreak or community spread. And so in the BVI, a lot of relaxation took place. The whole country, both seaports and airport open up. Gatherings were allowed, people allowed to gather. Parties, fetes, graduations, bars open. The whole country was open at that time prior to July 3rd. The opening started on April 15th. We had one cruise ship came in. And there were several cruise ships scheduled to return. We discussed the whole question of returning cruise ship in terms of all of them must be fully vaccinated, and that's what the cruise ship agreed to. And we were moving forward, and this happened. But one of the things we have to note in the BVI is that the public health COVID-19 control and suppression measures were very ambitious measures. They were very strict measures. And to back up that, the government had the police, along with what they call is the social distancing task force. So in addition to the police in enforcing the measures, we also have public health people, civilians, public officers, public servants, and so on, trained by public health and environmental health to assist with the monitoring of businesses. So we had in the BVI a total of 40 plus persons going around on a daily basis, checking businesses, checking persons and so on to ensure that they comply with the measures. And what we found is that generally speaking, in the businesses that have been inspected, they comply, the infrastructure is there. The hand hygiene is there, hand washing facilities is there with soap, water, paper towel, a hand blow dryer, hand dryers, bin and sign and how to wash your hands, everything is at that station. Also, they have hand sanitizer for people who prefer to use hand sanitizer. They also have the PPE, people wearing masks, and people wearing and the social distancing. So the business have these things. The problem we always face is people complying with the measures and our ability to 100% implement and enforce these measures. The most violated measure in the BVI, and I'm certainly sure the Caribbean, and I'm in Antigua now for the past 2 weeks and I've seen it. The most violated measure is the wearing of the mask and to a certain extent the hygiene, the hand hygiene. But when you look at the mask wearing, it is masks are not worn properly at all across the board by all persons. Persons just walk into places, masks blow their nose and so on. People walk into place, some people wash their hand, they don't have they don't have things to dry it and so forth. So across the board in the Caribbean, and I've talked to my other colleagues about these measures, we found that these measures are very difficult present a challenge for enforcement and implementation. We have issued over close to 500-600 tickets in the BVI, 400 to 600 tickets in the BVI, and a good 95% of them are related to the wearing of masks, not wearing of masks, inappropriate use of masks, and so on. And so we always have to have this campaign, these education programs, these awareness programs going around about how to wear masks. So when we look at the whole COVID-19 transmission and epidemic, we see there are four factors at play here. And let me go through them quickly for you. One has to do with the nature of the virus itself. We are dealing with to begin with, since the virus was first discovered and surfaced in the world in 2019, December 31st, 2019, we have seen a very infectious, highly transmittable, highly spreadable virus taking place through the world with a high reproduction number of about 3. And we say that what we mean by that, one person can infect 3 persons. And so this is why we are careful when we talk about variant, because still we know with the original coronavirus, COVID-19 virus, one person is capable of infecting 3 persons. So it's a geometric infection rate taking place, not arithmetic. So you find that if I have COVID-19, I could infect my 3 friends from St. Kitts. I could infect, and I could go on and infect other people if I'm not controlled. And they in turn can go on and infect 3 persons each. So we have a geometric progression taking place, a geometric increase taking place. And so the virus is highly infectious, highly transmittable, highly spreadable. And so we also have the introduction now, or the surfacing of new variants that most literature have said are even more infectious and more transmittable and more spreadable than the original COVID-19 virus. And so you see what we have dealing with here. So that's one factor. That's a very important factor. And the other factor is what we have. The reduced and inappropriate use of the COVID-19 control and suppression measures. And this is not only peculiar to the BVI, this is not only related to the BVI, it relates to other countries, it relates to in Antigua also. We see some people wearing masks, we see some people not washing hands, and it's across the board. It's in the BVI, it's in St. Kitts, it's in Barbados, it's in Jamaica, it's all over, where we have reduced inappropriate use of COVID-19 control measures. Hand hygiene, personal protective equipment with the wearing of masks, and the social distancing measures. And so these 3 measures, these 3 pillars that we have introduced to fight COVID-19, we find that people are not complying the way they should. And number 3, I want to mention is the social mixing. their social mixing, their events, their parties, their gatherings, their meetings, and people tend to interact and not social distance. So there's social mixing instead of social distancing taking place. And lastly, and most important, I would say, and all of them important really, but lastly, is the wanton and blatant refusal of the population to take the vaccine. And those are the 4 factors, I think, that are driving COVID-19 transmission, that has driven COVID-19 transmission, the BVI, and that and if countries like Antigua, they're careful and so on, they're going to have it can happen in Antigua, it has happened in St. Kitts just the other day, and it happened in Barbados now, and it happened in other countries. So these 4 factors must be taken into consideration, and we have to continue to educate people on how this is taking place. So one thing about the BVI in this whole epidemic, we have done an enormous amount of tests. The BVI tests everybody. Yeah. Okay. Everybody that land in the BVI by ERC, wherever they land by, they are tested. All tourists are tested upon arrival. They have to bring a negative COVID test, PCR negative COVID test, and they are tested upon arrival, and they're going to a gold seal facility. Antigua called it biosecure. They're going to a gold seal facility, and they stay there until they get the results. When they get the results, they're free to go. If it's negative, they're free to go, and so on. The locals are tested as do the same test as the tourists, and so on. Fully vaccinated people, prior to the outbreak, fully vaccinated people came in. They bring a negative COVID test. They weren't required to do a test upon arrival. The government had changed that with the level of vaccination, and so on. But since the epidemic now, they have changed that system again, and so all vaccinated person, fully vaccinated person coming in, have to in addition to bring a negative PCR test, they also have to do a test upon arrival, which can be PCR and rapid antigen test. So that has changed as a result of the epidemic. And so you find that the BVI has been consistently and continuously employing different measures, different techniques and strategies to bring this virus under control. The virus have a control over us right now. We're not in a good place in terms of the virus impacting us and impacting other Caribbean islands. And so we have to regain control of the situation. And this is why curfew measures have been introduced, restriction of movements have been introduced, strict isolation and quarantine measures have been introduced, and vigorous, unprecedented testing, I might add, has taken place. So that is the general thing I want to say regarding that, and to continue to appeal to people to practice the measures, and people should seriously consider taking the vaccine when it becomes available.
All right. My esteemed colleagues in St. Kitts, a question for Mr. Michael.
Well, Mr. Michael, thanks for joining us. I mean, I'm listening to you speak, and it seems as though what you're saying is it lines up with a lot of what the health officials here in St. Kitts have been saying, and
yes,
it's obvious that this is at least in regards to the population and the response. It seems to be that we are dealing with similar issues that are really complexing and making this issue really something that is difficult to deal with. But one of the things that I found interesting, you mentioned, just how transmissible the disease is. And it seems as though one of the things in the BVI's case that is alarming is the rate of spread in this particular scenario.
Yeah.
Is that in some way based on a particular variant? Because it seems as though like this thing just kind of spread like wildfire.
Yes. We will know that shortly, sometime this week, early next week. Samples have been collected and sent to CARFA for testing and to determine what we're dealing with, if it's the Delta variant or whatever variant we're dealing with in the BVI. But don't forget, as I indicated, that once you allow a certain degree of COVID, these 4 measures I mentioned, once you allow that to happen, given the reproduction number of COVID-19 to begin with, of one person infecting 3 persons, if this is Delta variant, then you will see it really spread fast to me. And one of the things that has revealed that make us aware of that is the degree of testing too. because what happened when BVI discovered the first couple of cases is that they put out a bulletin and tell everybody and establish testing sites. Showed Tartola, showed Virgin Gorda, showed Antigua, showed Just Van Dyke. Testing site that people could show up for testing and make themselves available for testing. So in addition to the spreading, sometimes in public health, we say that it doesn't necessarily mean increasing cases, but because of your testing mechanism, your rigorous testing regime, it reveals cases. And this is, and yes, I don't want to belittle the rapid spread, the rapid transmission of the disease, but because I have to say, because of in addition to that, the amount of tests that have been done and the amount of samples that have been collected from people and the amount of testing sites that have been established throughout the territory, throughout the country to uncover these cases. So symptomatic people were tested, pre-symptomatic, asymptomatic people were tested of all types. So between the 3rd of July and the 9th of July, Total have conducted 5,692 tests on persons. So wow. You're looking at in 7 days, nearly 6,000 tests conducted, and that is wow. Unprecedented in any epidemic in any country of the Caribbean when you look at the amount of tests that's been done. So yes, in addition to some variant may be at play, and that is what samples have been collected to try to determine that. But suffice to say, the rigorous testing that has taken place during the pandemic and even before the pandemic and after, and now it's still going on during the epidemic, is taking place. Because as I said, once you land on the BVI, a test is done on you.
Wow.
Yes,
I think it's admirable. I think it's admirable that you guys were able to mobilize in a way to facilitate testing so many persons. But as a quick follow-up, what type of test is the government really using? Is it the PCR test?
PCR, yes. Okay. PCR test. But the recent protocols for vaccinated persons coming into the BVI, recent protocols, I said, very recent protocols coming into BVI, you will be subject to a rapid test upon arrival.
Okay.
Because you're fully vaccinated. All right. That is a slight change from the previous one, where upon arrival you do a PCR test. But that has changed to you can either do a PCR test or a rapid test will be done upon arrival.
Okay.
But to come to the BVI, a PCR test is required.
Okay. Awesome.
What determines which test you take? What are the determining factors?
I think that with regard to I think that when it comes to vaccinated persons and the confidence that people have that is shown in the vaccine to prevent to reduce significantly the probability of you getting infection and to reduce significantly the probability of you transmitting the disease, they feel well a rapid test is in order. And if anything is picked up in a rapid test, of course there's a testing regime for use the rapid test and the PCR. And so for a certain amount of rapid tests, a certain amount of PCR tests will be done. So I think that it has to do with giving the vaccinated people some degree of confidence, some degree of relief, and show that we have confidence in taking the vaccine, and the vaccine can do its job in preventing, in reducing significantly the incidence of disease, spreading and getting, most likely, and reduce the hospitalization and death. And you will note in the BVI and among other countries that the people who unfortunately suffered the demise is a lot of them, most of them are, all of them aren't vaccinated persons, unfortunately. And so vaccination drive is very vigorous, but people are not taking up the offer of getting vaccinated. It's a Herculean, it's a very uphill struggle to get people to take the vaccine. The anti-vax people are at play. Some people just have a contraindication to vaccines, so some of them won't take it. And some people have a natural skepticism, a natural hesitancy to take the vaccine. And I think that in my case, for example, I think we have done, in our case, we have done a lot. We have done all we can to get people to take the vaccine. In the BVI, we have encouraged people. We have our programs. We have done all kind of things. The business community have done a lot to incentivize the whole program to take people to take the vaccine. And so we have the refusal to take the vaccine, and that is one of the things that is driving the COVID-19 transmission.
Right. I want to ask my friends in St. Kitts, the anti-vax crowd, they don't like to be called that apparently, but those who are opposed to the vaccines, call them anti-vaxxers, call them vaccine skeptics, call them whatever you will. Are they a significant factor in your estimation in St. Kitts Nevis, or not really?
I mean, personally, I think they are.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think they are.
I mean, yesterday, I'll tell you, I posted something basically suggesting, well, look, 99%, based on the numbers out of the United States, 99% of the deaths in the United States from COVID-19, whichever variant, in the month of May, right, and June, were all unvaccinated. I thought it was a compelling number.
I was telling you, yes.
I thought it was a compelling number.
Okay.
I mean, all the debates about vaccine efficacy and safety and whether it got emergency authorization and as opposed to final approval and all of that, to me, should have been put aside because it was such a compelling number. And yet, the anti-vax friends of mine on Facebook came after me and they had all their pictures and memes and quotes and all the rest of it. And to what extent do you think that misinformation is really the greatest enemy as far as addressing this? And this, Mr. Question, perhaps Mr. Michael may want to handle. What can you do? I mean, the White House, Jen Psaki, she came out. I mean, granted, we're looking at it through the American lens because of their openness of how they deal with things in this particular context and the fact that they have numbers so readily and so quickly. She said that misinformation is just a big problem, and the Surgeon General said American lives are at risk because there's so much misinformation out there, and people genuinely believe it. Not that they mean to be bad people or they're trying to undermine the government or undermine the economy. I don't think so. I think it's just a case where there's so much misinformation out there. It's like a fire hose.
They're making money.
Just don't know what to believe.
They're making plenty of money from it.
Money? How so?
They're making plenty of money from it. They're hired to do these things. They said the big pharma company are making money from the vaccines, but so are the anti-vax people making billions
How they
from
make
it.
Money?
They make their money from spreading false information, so that people would not use the vaccine and give the money to the big pharma, as they say. But that's how they make the money. They put out kind of theory out there, thing that they know that they are not true, and but yes, WHO have a whole page on their website. We speak about misinformation and know how to recognize misinformation and know how to deal with it and education. I think somehow the people who are opposing vaccines and opposing COVID-19 measures. I mean, let me give a similar example. In the BVI, one person sent me a message and asked me, when we're going to open the clubs. Okay? Yesterday, remember we have over 600 cases, okay? This person is asking me, when we going to open the club? I say, Mom, this club is not going to open right now. No club opening right now. All right? The lady said to me, there's no COVID. It's a lie. No. Yes. I just simply hung up my phone because I can't involve in that kind of conversation.
No, Azem, you laugh.
I cannot involve in that kind of conversation. And so we find that misinformation around. I find that we public health people and we people who are supporting and fighting against COVID have to step up our game. We have to increase our level of awareness. We have to increase our level of education. We have to have budgets that speak to providing accurate information, sound information. We have to have people trained to deal with this matter and to counter some of these measures out there. And so we have not been quick in responding to the disinformation taking place. It was the same thing in chikungunya. It's the same thing in microcephaly, that mosquitoes leave from one country and come to the next, and mosquitoes and spread the disease is something make up. There's always some conspiracy theory going around the world when it comes to pandemics and come to disease. Yeah. And so we have to, we in the public health field, we as government people and ordinary citizens, we have to find a way to respond and to respond decisively to these misinformation taking place out there. And I think we need to do more work in that regard.
Yeah, just a quick comment before we make plans to wrap, because believe it or not, it's already 25 minutes to 9 o'clock. Yesterday, what Mr. Michael said, he's right. At least I had a similar experience. Somebody told me point blank, what pandemic am I talking about? They just don't believe that there's a pandemic. And I mean, I didn't criticize, I didn't come down on him like a ton of bricks. I just found it astonishing that people genuinely believe that there's no pandemic. So that's the level and the extent of the impact of the misinformation that's out there. But
you have to remember. People have to remember that, right? Since the international health regulations were promulgated and revised and passed and come into effect developed in 2005 and come into effect in 2007. Right. International regulation. We have declared a couple of pandemics. In 2009, there was a pandemic of H1N1, the swine flu as it's called. Right, but it was not as devastating as COVID-19. And through all these pandemics and all these global diseases and so on, we have seen and witnessed an avalanche of misinformation, and we have seen an avalanche of people doubting them and not respecting the views of people who have gone to school and trained, and people have studied these things all their lives, and people are making enormous sacrifices to educate them. And so and that is why I said we need specific budgets, we need specific allocations, public relation, public communication strategy budgets to deal with these things, and to have people ready and able and capable to debunk some of these myths. And honestly, I really don't waste my time these days with people who's telling me there's no pandemic and there's no COVID-19 and vaccine this and vaccine that. I don't get myself involved in it. I put the case forward. I encourage people, because I have taken the vaccine. I'm still alive. Maybe they say I'm going to die in 5 years. I don't know. But I have taken the vaccine.
That's a real thing.
And I encourage people to take the vaccine. In Antigua now, they have different types of vaccine that give people a little more choice. So we should expect in Antigua that the vaccine rate should increase, and so on. So, but yes, BVI also is looking to get other types of vaccine and planning at the advanced stage of getting Pfizer, Moderna, I think, added to AstraZeneca. But let us understand and don't think that we're not going to attack every vaccine and say they're not good and so on, and all these type of things. WHO approved vaccines and so on for the world. All right, WHO approved AstraZeneca and so forth. There's some vaccines that are not approved by WHO. However, countries may look at their own situation and assess the vaccine and determine whether they want to approve it or not. But I would advise countries and encourage countries to, as far as practical, to approve vaccines and to take vaccine in their country that WHO has approved. All right, we hear that AstraZeneca has not been approved in the United States. And FDA has not approved this. FDA have not approved that. But not suffice to say, FDA is not the world. The Food and Drug Administration in the United States. And we have the WHO, which is the United Nations governing body that deal with public health, that deal with health, that approve vaccines. Yes.
Folks, we could talk for the next 2 hours, I'm sure. But we are up against it. So I gotta go. All right.
Thank you.
Parting is such sweet sorrow, and I still have questions for you, Mr. Michael. But yes, we'll do this again another time. My friends and St. Kitts, happy Friday. Have a safe weekend.
Happy Friday.
We will talk again next week. Lord spare our lives.
For sure.
All right.
All right. That does it for the region.